In X4 Kingdom End, the Boron race makes a welcome return to the X4 universe. These delightful water creatures expand the existing economy. That presents unique challenges. They expand the game's universe with 11 new sectors connected to Heretic's End, which is close to their original neighbors, the Argon. Additionally, the Boron introduced an increased need for water. It is interestingly different from the previous DLC, Tides of Avarice, where water and food were illegal sources for the Vigor Syndicate. In this new expansion, we'll dive into the story of Kingdom End and explore the new station parts and economy challenges that the Boron bring. Before we start, a short interlude. This video has no placement, but you can support me and this channel by buying the new DLC through my link in the description. It's a link for GOG and it doesn't cost anything extra. So if you have the base game on GOG, you can buy this DLC from me now. But that's just for GOG. If you have your game on Steam, then just play and enjoy. But you can use this link for any other games on GOG too. Thank you so much, and now back to the video.
The priority at this juncture is the welfare of our people, and I shall not be distracted from that.
When the gate network shut down, the Boron were left stranded and in a dire situation. The Boron themselves were also split in 2 regions, and their gates were down too, forcing them to make a great effort to reconnect just a few of them. At the end, the Boron were divided into the Queendom, which was still connected, and the provinces adrift, which were left without any water. To provide a better understanding, the provinces adrift are like the outer core of the Terran space, while the Queendom is like the inner core. Although both are completely independent systems, unlike in the Terran space where Sol is just one solar system. And on top of that, you don't need a permit to enter the Queendom. The Boron's need for water put the provinces adrift at a significant disadvantage, with the economy completely down. There are only a few stations that cannot produce much, and it's unclear how the Boron even managed to survive in those systems. So the Boron in the provinces adrift simply gave up on spaceflight and settled down on the planets that still had water. The only issue is that bringing water into space was becoming increasingly difficult, to the point where they almost stopped doing it altogether. As a result, those systems were left with minimal ships, minimal stations, and no means of producing for themselves.
You must realize what this means. All the resources of the Commonwealth are now within reach. At long last, a chance to end the shortages.
With the opening of the gate network, the provinces adrift have reconnected to the Queendom and are now heavily reliant on a steady income of water. This presents an exciting opportunity for profit, but before we delve into that, let's take a closer look at the Queendom itself. The Queendom is a functioning ecosystem with all the resources it needs, but its remote location makes it less interesting for profit-seeking individuals. However, it's the abundance of resources in sectors like Rogue's Demise that make them worth exploring, with over 1 billion units of ore, silicon, and ice available. The only downside is the weak sunlight in that sector. But what sets these sectors apart from others is not just the changing resources. As seen in previous DLCs like Tides of Avarice and Cradle of Humanity, the sunlight levels are changing too. This means that some sectors like Menelaus Oasis are ideal for producing energy cells due to their high sunlight levels, with up to 270% more sunlight available. So while the Queendom may not offer immediate profits, the abundance of resources and unique conditions in these sectors make them a worthwhile investment opportunity. Before we continue, I want to give you a quick heads up about a dangerous sector you'll encounter when traveling from the provinces adrift to the Queendom. This sector is known as Sanctuary of Darkness, and it's not only hazardous due to its treacherous terrain, but also because it's populated by dangerous enemies. This makes trading and travel to the inner Boron sectors a bit of a challenge. However, once you establish a connection with the Boron, they will begin to spread and expand their influence into other territories. So don't be fooled by these charming water creatures. Eventually, the Boron will make their way into the economy of other races. Let's dive into the interesting world of stations in the Boron sectors. Unlike other sectors, nearly every Boron sector has at least one major trading station that acts as the hub of the sector. It appears that the Boron are even more eager to trade than the Taladi, which is an exciting addition to the universe. I can envision building a new trade hub near the Boron sectors instead of the Taladi sectors, as the Boron have higher demands. While the Queendom itself is self-sufficient, there is always room for improvement, and your task will be to enhance the economy for better functionality. Moreover, it's essential to note that the Boron sectors are rich in resources that can be distributed among the other races to promote a thriving interstellar economy. One thing you need to know about the Boron is that they have a particular craving for Bofu. It's what keeps their workforce going. Bofu is made up of 3 key ingredients: energy cells, plankton, and biogas. Interestingly, biogas and plankton require the same resources to produce: energy cells and water. Medical supplies can be created using different production methods, such as the boron, Perrhenid, split, Teladi, and Terran methods. Each method has its unique resource requirements, but the boron method is the simplest and most affordable since it only needs plankton, energy cells, and water. For the boron, maintaining the workforce is a top priority, which means they require ample amounts of water. By supplying energy cells and water, you can create everything in the production line for Bofu, and ultimately keep the boron workforce healthy and satisfied. If you're looking to make a name for yourself in the boron sectors, water is definitely in high demand. When it comes to building ships and stations, energy cells and water are once again essential. Boron ships can only be built using the universal production method, which requires energy cells and water. Additionally, boron station parts also follow this method. Hull parts are another crucial element in shipbuilding, while stations also require platronics on top of that. These materials are produced like any other resource in the other sectors, requiring the mining of ore and the creation of graphene and refined metals. In summary, the boron's unique reliance on Bofu and their need for water presents an interesting economic opportunity. Energy cells and water are crucial not only for production, but also for ship and station building. So if you're up for the challenge, the boron sectors may just be the perfect place to build your trade empire.
If we had anything of value to loot, we would not be discussing skirmishes. They would descend upon us in hordes.
I understand that some of you may not be thrilled to hear this, but the boron sectors use the same production modules as the other factions. Although some of the stations do look quite nice with only boron parts, like when you're building something that is exclusively boron, such as a Bofu production facility, other stations, like a hull part factory, can look a bit odd when you just slap those modules on top. I know, it's a bit disappointing, and it doesn't look as good. However, let's be realistic here. We don't need new parts for every single faction, just to produce the same things. It would take up a lot of resources from Egosoft. We'd have to pay for new ships or modules for every faction, and that would just create a system that sounds all too familiar, doesn't it? With backers and stuff like that. So, we're left with the beautiful organic looking boron parts, but the production modules still have the technical appearance. Nonetheless, other parts like defense modules, docking piers and connection modules still look great in their own way. There are even new modules that elevate other station parts, and the boron cross-connection structure looks incredibly cool, like a ring. Speaking of which, one specific boron part that caught my attention is the Pheromone Art Gallery. Egosoft took the concept of the casino and implemented it into the boron economy. It's a great way to improve conditions for the workforce and make them even more efficient. We don't know the exact numbers yet, how much more efficient, but we'll find out once the game is released. Overall, it's a fantastic addition to the boron economy. The boron oasis habitats are similar to other habitats in the game. The size of the habitats determines the number of workforce available. The S-Class can hold 250 workforce, the M-Class holds 500, and the L-Class holds 1000. Same with the storages. The L-Class storage has a capacity of 1 million, M-Class storage has 100,000, and S-Class has 25,000. One interesting design in the boron economy is the SM ship fabrication bay. It may use the same structure as other bays, but the interior design is unique and fantastic. The new station has an elevator that goes up at an angle, creating a dark underwater feel, similar to the game BioShock. The S-Class docks are well placed and have different design elements than other docks, making them a nice addition to the game. However, the dealership and traders still use the same model for everyone, which is a downside. It's weird to see a hovering boron behind a typical counter.
Hello.
But once you leave the trader, you're back in boron glory. The tower in the middle looks like an airport tower, and it's an excellent touch that I really appreciate. I wish I could enter that tower and take a look at all the ports around me. If I could make a wish, I would love for my personal office to be in a building like this, with 3 windows facing every direction. That would be the perfect boron headquarters office.
Docking permission granted.
So, that's about it for the Boron economy. While there aren't many new things, it's still a nice addition to an already functioning universe. It feels like an, caution, that joke, organic enlargement of your existing universe. Thanks for watching.
Before we commence with business matters, may I say that it is a great honor to work with you heralds on your royal mission.